Chili here with Sirius Talis Moon. We are going to collectively look together at case for Germa van der Boom and 23 or 13 July 1965. 13 July 1965. And this is another case that 65. She went missing in 1984. I think it was June. And she would have been 60 now. But Netherlands, but oh. Biesbosch. Okay. I don't know. Yes. And the reason is basically that where the fluff is that? Do I even have? No. I don't think. Yeah. Okay. And this may be connected to some network. Okay, so I don't know. Even Dyke, perhaps. Let's see what is the smallest city that it lets me. Okay, I need to go. Less precise. Addressed in previous episode, I didn't air this episode yet. The fact that we may have a Rolodex list. And because of the repeating conditions regarding the Kurdistani condition. Altena? Okay, so it's Amsterdam. I guess it will only let me say Amsterdam here. At any case, the country is big, but it's not as big as to completely shift things. Okay, immediately things popping up from her chart. Jupiter 18 degrees, which would be correct. Rao 11 degrees. Ooh. Okay. Chiron 22 degrees. In Pisces, Saturn Pisces opposing Pluto Uranus. Sol in Cancer, Venus, Mercury. I don't know if this case Let me take a look at that. I think I looked at the case when Pluto was going over her Lilith, which tells me that there is some sort of structural issue that could have violated her sexual sovereignty. Um, Saturn Pisces. I think her Saturn is on Mars of the True, but it doesn't tell me much because it was a big network. So, Chiron 22, wound around murder or assassination. Jupiter 18 degrees, something evil to do with Mercury here can be trade or toxins. Um, Jupiter Rahu is something very evil. Mercury here is in Leo with Venus, Me Too related. So this tells me squaring Neptune. Can be people would blame it on some drugs because of Neptune, but it is Me Too related. And can be people would wonder if she committed suicide. I think I addressed this case. People may wonder if she committed suicide, but this was some evil assassination that would make it look like. Because in Mercury sign, it can be, if it is suicide, it is something, Mercury can literally be programming. And but Mercury square Neptune, Mercury Venus Neptune, and yet Mercury in bisextile with the Moon and Saturn Chiron. So Lilith is now with her Ketu, which is why I'm probably looking at the case. Again, Lilith tells me something to do with, I'm sorry, ritual rape or trafficking, but with to do with ritualistic. It looks like satanic abuse. And what this aspect with Neptune tells me, there could have been torture at hospital or sexual boundary violation, because Neptune can be drugs, but Neptune can also be hospital, and Neptune rules also psychiatry. So she could have been silenced with drugs. Yeah. Um, Saturn, Chiron, Chiron 22ing. I don't know if it's day chart or night chart. I looked at this when Pluto was over her Lilith, and now Lilith is over her Ketu, which could tell me she died of something to do with suicide programming due to ritual abuse. That could have been with drugs, something to do with drugs, or that she was poisoned and assassinated, something like that. Now, let's take a look at the case. And she was missing 19-jarige Frau with Kille. 28 July or 29 July 1984. Is when she was last seen, which I can also try to make a chart for. Okay. She was born 13 July 1965. Lived with her parents and brother in Killa. She had an older sister, but the older sister lived outside of house. Said she was religious, which I saw. I saw this Jupiterian, but it seems that religion was some sort of toxic church. This church could have had satanic um, or even if it's not satanic, could have had something toxic about the beliefs. Jupiter 18 degrees, and Lilith is now going over her Ketu in sign of Jupiter. Chiron is 22 in Jupiter sign, so it's a religious murder, ritual murder. Chiron, Saturn, ritual murder. Um, she loved to read books. Okay, chronology. This is Friday 27th July 1994. She was alone at home. Family went on to visit relatives, and she was supposed to stay the weekend. Then she went to a boutique, clothes boutique. A VVV kantoor in Woldrichem, but did not have clothes, did not buy clothes. Then she walked home. Then to listen to music. So this would be night she would stay home. Zaterdag 28 July 1984. Saturday. Then she went to her elders, the grootelders as grandpa. And the family had a new baby. Was she a new baby? Nee. The sisters. The sister of the elders. Was having a baby. and then she would go to the market. Again, all the time with relatives. And then around 7 hour, they waited for her at home. But in the evening, basically, she was supposed to expecting her, but she did not arrive home. Okay. And she would go later. They said that she went with a friend or to a party or discotheque at Maddox, where she would drink alcohol. Okay, if she would something like went through something like virtual abuse, then she could have been dissociated and she could have been having urges to go to some place or even for to drink. And this means that prior to that she would have been violated as child or something like that, and then was susceptible to mind control. And this is where people would say, why did somebody make bad choices and so on and so forth? It's because of these things. Um, the family was looking for her. Where did she? Because she didn't sleep yet or something like that. Um, so it was 2 nights. Olympic, the Olympic Games in Los Angeles was on the television, and the family was watching. Then we'd have Sunday, 29th July, 1984. So she would be expected at church. Yeah, from Dutch. Doesn't do translation now. Okay. Maybe later. and they begin to try to locate her. Monday, so she's not at church. And this is where they begin to connect with the police. The family, of course, that went to visit relatives comes back and she's gone. So she was born in 1965, 1984, she would be 19 years old. 19 years old would be her Uranus square. And Uranus would square there from around her Ketu, which means that it could cause sudden death. Jupiter ruling Ketu is with Rahu, and this would also be her first. Age 19 would be also 1918 is also Rahu return, and we see Uranus going over Ketu, Ra return, Jupiter ruling Ketu, and indeed there probably there's some ritual there that could have forced her to commit suicide at its end, or but this was but also violation. And now I want to mention, because of the nature of ritual abuse, it's not impossible that during this time either she had to commit murder or rape, or she had to commit murder or rape and didn't want to and was killed. And this is something to take into account, because it seems she died of some sort of now the people that want to prevent such things, one place to assist is case Peggie Van Rooij, and Peggie Van Rooij, she is by Yvonne van Riemsdijk, and you can donate Yvonne
Hallo,
van Riemsdijk on her
deze
YouTube
video
channel
is geheel gewijd aan een update over Peggie van Rooij.
in order
Peggie is
to
naast een hele
assist Peggie
dierbare,
Van Rooij
goede,
to have
lieve
housing
vriendin van mij
outside of
ook te gast
these
geweest in een
rituals.
van
Peggy
mijn
Van Rooij
podcasts.
testified by Riemsdijk and by
Zij
Anneke
was te
Loekhouse
gast in aflevering 2.
where these ritual abuse ceremonies where people were
Well,
raped,
make a
but
hobby of
also
it.
they had to rape
I
and
don't know
to
how else to
murder.
put it. To
And
abuse children.
Zij was te gast in aflevering
it's not
2.
impossible that both case for Tanya Groen and the case for Nicky Verstappen, it can be that he simply was the child that was murdered. For Germa van der Boom, it seems like She went through something like what Peggy Van Rooij was going through. And yes, this is a furthermore episode. I did what I expense upon cooling. This is furthermore how to prevent murder. And for the case of Germa van der Boom, it seems like it's some sort of those rituals with something to do also with that church. It can be that a part of now the church is not like, oh, the church was satanic. Can be infiltration of the church, enough to have one priest or one person of the clergy that basically is participating in such rituals, and that would be even such case. And the rituals contain dissociation, so she could have gone through rituals, became dissociated, and then basically she would feel an urge to go here or to go there, and this could get her to a place where she would be in that ritual. Listen to Peggy Van Rooij episode by Anneke Lucas. And if you want to do something to prevent now, for people who are interested to find what happened to Germa van der Boom and are looking for something like astrological charity, it's possible that to donate for Zach Peggy Van Rooij that is still alive can be bringing results, can be helping to resolve the case for Germa van der Boom. Okay, well, this is where the people that use astrological charity, it is refined from practice of Christopher Warnock called planetary charity. So planetary charity is something Christopher Warnock discussed astrologically, and taking on this from the astrology to remediation, then this is case for what we can do to prevent more people being ritually murdered, but also to prevent people from participating in rape and murder of others, because in these rituals people are raped and raped. When they are raped, they become dissociated and susceptible to mind control even more. And so yes, a person, one case that we could help to prevent is Peggy Van Rooij, which is by
Zij was de
Yvonne
gast
van
in
Rijmsdijk.
aflevering 2.
Ook Dutch. Onderzoek, 7th August. Begin searches in the apartment. No blood stains. And she would basically remain missing for 39 years. Case was reopened, I think, 2 years ago by, I think, Peter R. de Vries Foundation after assassination of Peter R. de Vries. Foundation is run by Kelly de Vries. People that have good tips, they can go to Foundation Peter R. de Vries and send them any tips that they have. In the beginning, they did not accept paranormal tips. I don't know how is it today, because I saw an interview of Kelly. She says a lot of paranormal tips are actually very accurate. I may have made some noise about 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 inclusion of paranormal tips, and this may have positively changed the approach. And if it did, then I'm happy, because this can assist in resolving cases. And so it would be my Kleines contribution that nearly cost me my life and energy. Okay, but people say that Van der Boom was dead. her opening was reopening in 2001 and 2002 with Beta Ada Freeze Foundation. They offer some generous award for people that have good tips. Again, when I tend to this, I don't look for this type of awards. I look for abolishing practice of ritual abuse, which would both return the energy and our human rights, whether it's housing, public or private, job opportunities that are not rapey, our faith in faith, because this pertains to all religions. Um, and you see, for this thing, even if this tip would help, I don't know, resolve 250,000 euros, yes, a person can find a house there, but the next day they can be assassinated because somebody else needs to go up the rank and murder somebody. So they can make it 7 times more the money and is still not solving the problem. And the problem is human rights. And I also address the patent of creating an offender or the patent of creating an assassin in other episodes. So I'm not being simplistic in my approach. October 2023, we're digging around and found nothing around her house. Yes, um, it looks like what some of those rituals, such rituals could have occurred in places like forests, in places like estates, or even hidden places within churches or apartments and so on, or places with underground or something like that. Um, but the nature of it looks like all clues lead to that. That it looks like that. Now, question is she's supposed to be 60 today. What happened? Is she dead? Is she alive? Um, was she transformed to be in a part of those secret societies? Um, and to me, it looks like with that ritual, that would have been a raw return, it looks like she very likely died there. To sustain such a raw return, Uranus degree away, a Uranus square. Basically, I was born during her Uranus square. And her Uranus square going over Ketu, which is, and then indeed she went missing the year I was born, 1984. Uranus would be, and my Uranus is retrograde, which means in Yuli it would probably go over her Ketu in retrograde motion, and then either there or when it would go direct, then and at the same time, by her age, she would have Rao return. Rao going over this Rao Jupiter, very malefic degrees, degree of suicide, degree of poison. Jupiter ruling over her Uranus square, which is an incredibly challenging, and the Uranus square triggers this opposition with Chiron, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus. Jupiter ruling over 22, Uranus wound around religious murder. It is what it is. The moon here can be other degree, moon in Saturn sign, but Saturn here is activated mainly by, and Yuli would be around her solar return, 2029 Yuli. Uh, Um, so yes, this is what water expands upon cooling came to do, and this is a furthermore episode because my belief is I find it very challenging to believe that Van der Boom survived this Uranus square and Ra return. Okay, as astrologer. If she did, it would only be as perpetrator. She would be a Mark Dutroux right now. If she did, then it means she would have changed identity, changed face, and is now perpetrator. Or trafficked, which I don't believe she would survive to 60. Being trafficked, she would probably become something like a Ghislaine Maxwell. So if she is alive, she probably is one of the people that we would consider monsters, uh, and it's not impossible because I addressed this after I addressed the creation of a perpetrator. And this is something that I did not foresee, but understanding this is now I understand this can also help us locate missing people. Um, and for if she is alive, for her to return home, she would need to have housing outside of with she would need to have housing without committing murder, ritual rape. She would have a background of I don't know how many offenses, gruesome offenses behind her with this Jupiter Rahu. It would mean she would rape and murder children and torture children, ritual murder. Okay, to survive this, she would have to become offender. And is it impossible that she is alive? No, it's not impossible that she is alive. But people must understand what would they find. They would find a Mark Dutroux. They would find a Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only thing that survives this. So this episode is way more important than I predicted this to be. Um, and her Ketu is degree away from my Uranus. And I'm about to ingress to my Uranus opposition. His Saturn degree away from my Lilith, and her Saturn is conjoining Mars of Mark Dutroux. Her Chiron around my first house. When Neptune was crossing this degree, I was in Netherlands and did a channeling experiment where I ran into the assassination of Peter R. de Vries. I was just a homeless person trying to relearn Dutch. Um, um, Mars in Libra here, Mars ruled by this Venus. I don't have ascendant in midheaven. Moon would be anywhere around this Capricorn middle decan or last decan. It's not impossible she has Moon on my lot of fortune, which would be at end decan Capricorn. And if it is the case, it can be that the assassination was by proxy and that the people that did that to her had the consciousness of other people that were not there. And if she is alive, it means that she is such a person right now. Particularly because this moon rules the sun, which in the absence of ascendant, the sun and moon would tell me about the person. And she may have programming of assassination, programming of torture, and programming of suicide. Um, and um, and her skill would be to make something look different, but with a square to Neptune, there's a breaking in that skill. And perhaps my episode could be that breaking in that skill, because I'm that because I could be that Neptune. And Neptune is also divination. Astrology we see with Uranus, but the divination part of astrology is Neptunian. And this is within my Neptune square. Neptune will have one more go at 1 degree Aries, which would be my Neptune square, and it would meet Saturn there. And so, yes, she had a Uranus square when I was born, and then this Uranus square would touch in its retrograde motion. Mine is 12 retrograde, then 1 degree back is 11, and that would already be conjoining her Ketu. Upon a Rao return, this Rao return is very difficult to survive. I know people don't like it because I have colleagues that give consultations, and then people can look. I saw by shielding water expands upon cooling that, ta 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 ta. Okay, first of all, are there ritual abuse happening in your environment, family? Is the astrologer that you are turning to had to get certification? Because if he did, um, tend to that topic. Okay, I did water expands upon cooling when Uranus was crossing my lot of spirit at 22 degrees Taurus, opposing my 22 degrees retrograde Mars. Um, so this is how I tended to that. And that's what I have to say with the people. Like, if you're so worried about ritual abuse, tend to that. Um, and anyway, and now Lilith is going over her, a Ketu, which I mentioned. I think the case was reopened when Pluto was going over her Lilith. This is a chart. The charts rarely speak this loud. Charts rarely speak this loud. And now for the people that would ask, is this a fated thing because of the eclipse nodes and so on and so forth? I don't know, folks. But if you ask me for point of interference, I gave you what the point of interference is. And the many people that had people missing for quite some time, when a person is missing for that long, it usually tells of that story. Some people may ask, what about cases of military like Ron Arad, which I addressed in another series? Yeah. When it's that much of a cold case, Nikki Verstappen, Bormeran's murder, it's that much of a thing that the society has to be prepared to address. Because after so long, well, the only thing that would survive this is already an offender, and quite a gruesome one, if she is alive.